Hello and welcome to my channel. We're going to be up in the air on this one because we're going to be talking about Bowie knives, and specifically this all came about because of a picture I took of shadows sleeping next to this one right here, the Ontario SP10 Raider Bowie, and it is a version of the V44 and all that. You know, there's a history. I'm not going to go completely into the history of it, but I wanted to talk about, it used to be, before Ontario went out of business, this was priced about around $50, $60, something like that. You could get it for less than that. But it was more expensive than a Rough Rider, and this is just an example, you know, Rough Rider's version kind of that. This is a decent knife, but what I liked about this one is it's just kind of do any kind of thing knife. Now Case had and has their version, you know, the Case Bowie, and they made they've made it for a long time, and I've heard they have stopped making it, discontinued and everything. So this one was always a more expensive version, and I have several of those that would fall into that category, not just the Case. I just put that one out there to say this is not one of the knives that I would grab and just go out and go crazy with. Now this knife is, and I have another one in a display case that I won't take out and just go crazy with, because it is actually it's not a safe queen, it's a wall queen, you know, because it's going to sit there and I'm going to leave it in pristine condition, because this one I've actually used and would use just because it feels so good in my hand. But it's not like something you would just go crazy with kind of knife, and that's, of these versions, that's why I say this one has always been in that category. However, because they've gone out of business, the price of these has gone up almost as much as one of these cost when they were new. And I don't think that knife, even if it's gone out of business, it's the same value as this one. But then this one has probably jumped up too, so who knows? You know, that's investments and everything else. Between the two, I would say this one was probably made better, but there's nothing wrong with this knife either, and it's made more substantial, so it would hold up to, like I said, anything you want to do. Now in the SE line of knives, this would be like the SE5. I didn't break out the SE5 because I've got it over here, but I'm just talking about this kind of like length, the original kind of like style of knife and everything. What would be a good, you know, what would be a good version nowadays for that? And I'll try and do all this without dropping a Bowie knife and losing a toe or two. This, I think, would be a good budget version of it. Now I've got down on the floor where it's already safe a bunch of other budget version Bowies that we're just going to quickly look at them. I'm going to measure and weigh. I'm sorry, this thing is bouncing. It's going to happen. Now with this, I'll try to stabilize it. But yeah, it's got a nice profile. It's got a nice weight, and yeah, I think this would be a good do anything, carry around. You know, it's even a little bit larger than the SP10. Now that is as opposed to this, the SP5. Now this is more like a Bowie knife type of shape. And what sets these apart is the the width, the weight, the width and the weight up here, you know, right in the meat of it. And that gives it the ability to kind of do some chopping, you know. Now my thought on it is, I have some table legs here. And I can't do this inside right now because I've got shadow on the back porch and stuff going on. But I bet if you chop with all of these knives up here, what it's going to come down to is some are going to dig in deep because of the way the blade is shaped and everything. There's not a lot of meat behind it. But the reason behind, if you want to chop a lot of wood like baton and everything else, the reason why it's more wedge shape of the blade is because you have more meat behind it, and you're really just wedging the wood apart. Because if you hit it right, wood has got a grain, you know, circular and stuff, but you can split it. Now you run into knots and everything else. Well, a knife was not really, you know, designed to be, it can do, but it's not really designed to be splitting through logs and stuff like that. You can manufacture something like a wooden wedge if you want, and smack on it with something else other than your knife. I don't want to get into a rant about batoning. I understand about, you know, how people love that and are enamored on that. I wouldn't do that with this knife. Unless it was really, you know, my life depended on it was the only knife I had, and then, yeah, you know, I couldn't think of anything else, any other way of splitting, you know, making a fire for some reason. But this one you could do that with. Sturdy enough, you know. Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying it's super duper strong and everything. Feels like a full tang with some holes in it, in the tang, but it's balanced well. This may just be rubber, solid rubber up here, not a whole lot of metal behind it, like maybe little prongs or whatever. I mean, you get what you pay for on a lot of stuff, you know. I don't remember what this cost, but it was inexpensive. Alright, now you can go with, these used to be pretty good. Wild turkey. That is grease, not grease, what is that? Vaseline on it to cut down on corrosion. Because a lot of times I store them, you're not supposed to store them in a leather sheath, but I don't have a lot of room, so that's where I put stuff. And otherwise, I'd have sheaths separate from knives and not know which one goes where. That's happened before. But in that higher end category, of course, you know, you've got Bear and Son has got a nice version of it, but again, that's higher price. You can do what you want with your knives. Again, what you want to do. The lesser one. This does feel just like a machete. I mean, it's just, maybe it's because it's, you know, it's thin and everything. It doesn't really feel, I mean, sharp. It's sharp as all crap out up here. And this is super inexpensive. But again, I wouldn't do a lot of smacking around with it. He's El Salvador. I mean, it's okay, but it feels more like a machete knife. I'd rather just have, although, if that's all I had, you know, I'd feel alright with this for, you know, you can get by with just a machete. Because a lot of times, if you're not doing heavy duty chopping, because this thing weighs like, I don't know, a pound probably, and this thing is at least half of that. And look at that. Same length of blade. Doesn't have the upper guard up here, but you know, that gives you a chance to play your, you can put some jigging up here if you want and get jiggy with it. But there's usually some inexpensive, you can make your own sometime if you have to, version of a knife around. I'm not going to drag all these off because, like I said, I don't want to step on them. I don't want them dropping on my toes. Barefoot once again. So yeah, I don't want to make this a very super long video. I just wanted to make it short and quick, preferably non-bloody. And yeah, I still like this one. The rugged, heavy-duty, kind of like that parkerized finish, or just paint. I don't know. You can see I haven't babied it or anything, played around with it. And I like this hawkbill type of, and the grooves are very groovy. It works very well just to hold it in your hand when you're slipping around, and the rubber helps if you are chopping. With it. I have smacked into things. I don't baton with a knife, but I abuse knives in other ways. So, but yeah, that's just my thoughts. This one right here, the only thing I say about it is because it's a tang, type of handle material and leather and different stuff. If you're throwing it around like I have, this cross guard can loosen up and get rattly, and that might bother you. But other than that, if you're not doing things like that and you're just chopping, it should be all right. It's just probably not going to be as sturdy as these two. And you always have the, always have the Conan the Barbarian one. The huge jumbo, won't even fit all in the screen. I think it's called the Outlaw Bowie. Again, if you look at this, you think, oh, those are all pins. Some of those are decorative. Some are actually fitting it in there, and some of those are decorative. But it's interesting how they make these knives. You should watch it, man. You should watch the video. I've got it somewhere in, I think it's in a separate one called Knife Reviews. It's not me reviewing knives. It's just like other places or, for me to throw videos sometimes that I like. And it's interesting how they make this thing. But that's sturdy, and you can kind of do almost anything with it. It depends on the price and availability of anything. Rented lips. There we go. So there's some Bowies for you. I know Jimmy J's going to be excited. He likes Bowies, and a lot of people like Bowies. I like Bowies too. You see how they start multiplying and spreading? I'm just starting to put them back in there in this box behind me because they're all over the floor, and I'll pick up one or two more here. Honorable mention. This is it doesn't have the thickness, the girth up here for chopping everything, but it's a nice long ridge or runner. Nice long blade on it there. Of course, we got the monster here. D-guards are always fun. Made in Pakistan. You may see some rust. You'll definitely see some dust. And of course, this one's always good. That's I blued it, kind of blued it. Pakistani. The original kind of I don't know what was it called. Sezco Bowie. Sezco. They call it Cisco. I call it Sezco because there's a Z in there. And I'm going to pronounce it Sezco. Why? Because I says go. That's why. Alright, here's another one. It's alright, decent price and everything, but it's more like a non-chopping type of Bowie. You can chop, but it just feels like it would probably bend or break. I don't know for sure. And of course, should we look at this guy? This, I believe, is a cold steel. Yeah. It's the higher end one. I mean, you can still You can still do everything with it, you know. Cold Steel, I'm sure, has got plenty of videos showing them doing everything with it. All right, here's one for just for fun. I like this just for fun. It's the rattlesnake. Man, that's a cool pattern. Sidewinder. They call it Sidewinder. He didn't have a rattler, okay. I don't think a Sidewinder has a rattler. Does he? He might. They show him. They show him with one. Again, things come loose on these. Sometimes these fall off. It's just like a brass guard up here or something. Bump, bump. But yeah, it's sharp. It's trying to cut me. Pieces of it falling off. And the sheath is a sheath, yeah, it's a sheath. And it holds the knife, sort of. Yeah, it holds it fairly well. Alright, now, this one was a Jeep knife, you know. It's more of like, yeah, it's got cross guards and everything on it. I'll just Tack Extreme. I think this was from watching Late Night Cutlery Corner. One of those type of knives. This is the sheath that it came in. Feels very, doesn't feel like, it feels like plastic. Alright, so, there you go. I've run my mouth long enough. That gave you some ideas. If you get into Bowie knives, just remember you need space. And they're big and heavy. If they fall off the table, make sure you are nimble on your feet or you won't have any. Because these things, the mass and the weight just falling off the table, wow. But yeah, I like the way this is balanced. I like the weight of it, the feel, and it just feels like, yeah, you're ready. You know, yeah, you've only got a knife in your hand, but yeah, you've got a big knife in your hand. So, thanks for watching, and have a nice day.